Hello guys, welcome to Data Speak. Listen to your data. So today we are treating refreshing and updating of PivotTable. Refreshing and updating of PivotTable. That's our topic for today. So without wasting much of our time, let's get busy. Now this is our data we're going to be working with. And this is what we've been using throughout this series of PivotTable. Now, if you check here, now I have another sheet called new data. This new data contains the information for 215. So our main data will have just information for 213 and 214. So which means at some point in time, we'll need to update our data. So let's create our pivot table. So which means we click on any of the cell, we click on insert pivot table. We check the range. The range is giving us 600 as the row max. Okay, it's okay. Then we hit OK. Now I'm just going to create a cells based on year. So currently now you can see now what we have now is the cells for 213 and 214. The cells for 213 and 214. So once you hit, when you check on the pivot table tools where we have the analyze and the design, on the pivot and on that analyze, you see refresh. Refresh means that once I refresh, if for example, if our data is being updated, if I hit refresh, I should see the change on our report. Now let's go back to our data set. Now what we have here is 213, 214. Let me change one of these 214 to 216. Now I have changed one of the information of the year to 216. Let's go back to our pivot table. So right now, once I go to analyze and I go to refresh and refresh all, you'll find that we have our 216 information. This is possible because the changes we did was still based within the range pivot table is working. This wouldn't have been possible if the change we did was out of the range that pivot table is using to work. Now, that leads us to our next topic, updating a pivot table's data source. So I'm just going to go back to my data and rechange it back to 214. I'll still go to analyze and I refresh. It will return us back to the sales data for 213, 214. Now it has returned back to 213, 214. Now over here we have a new data information for 215, and we've been asked by our manager to update the report, the pivot table with the information of 215. So what I will do is that I'll go and highlight, copy the file, go to our main data source and and paste it. Like this. Paste it. So now let's go back to our report to see if we refresh it, if we're gonna see any change. I'll go to analyze and I'll click refresh. You find that there's no change. We can't see the 215 data. Now the reason being that pivot table is still working with the first range we gave him, which was the range of 1 to 600. Now an extra 101 column have been added. Now pivot table is not aware of that. So the way in order for to make pivot table to be aware is for us to go to change the data source. So I'll click on the change data source. Now it will take us to our original data, which is still showing the range of 600. So when we scroll down, you find that our new range now is 701. So what you simply do, you can just go here and remove the 600, replace it with 701, and you hit OK. You notice our report has been updated with the 215 data. So that's how you do you update your data and do refresh in pivot table. So if today happens to be your first time in this channel, please, I would like you to do what? To subscribe and click the like button. And if you've not watched our previous videos on PivotTable, I advise you to also to do what? To try and watch, because it's a series on PivotTable. Whatever you need to know about PivotTable, that's what we are covering in this series. Thank you very much, and thanks for your time.